We're going to start out today with congratulating everybody. We did 136 listings yesterday. I'm so excited for that. That's what we need. And I'm going to do a quick time check. Make sure we're here. Hang on. Can you hear me? Yep. It's all good. Anyway, yes, 136 listings. How marvelous. That gives us hanging in at 27.9, let's say 28 days of inventory. You put 97 under contract. You closed 84. And of those listings that you took yesterday, 35 of them were under 400,000 and under. And that gives us a total of 795 listings under 400,000 that are active. So that means, because yesterday I think we had about 806. So some of those things you put under contract were those $400 and under $1,000 homes. So that's good. We upped our daily from 103 to 111. So we're getting closer to the end of the month. So I suspect that'll at least get to last year's 115. Now, what I have noticed, everybody, just so you know, since they changed to zip codes, some of the numbers aren't jiving. So I went into Applied Analysis. That's the company that does the stats for you in that nice little, it tells you all the information about the single family homes, and they group the townhomes and the condos together. But anyway, I added all those up, and it's a little different than when I go and search in the MLS or do the market report. So since the MLS changed, there is a little bit of variance, not a lot. We can live with it. But I did notice that it increased the number of closings for 2020. So I adjusted that because it was at 29,927 and it came up to 30,310. So again, when they expanded those zip codes, versus just the areas, they took in more of our market. So that's why these are going to be a little different. I don't know that Applied Analysis is catching up with everything yet, but right now we got if I go to 3 different places, I get 3 different numbers, but they're all within, a couple hundred or under 1,000 anyway. So just bear with us while this all shakes out. Hopefully by the end of the year, the stats will be correct. And of course, next year will be good, because I kind of thought maybe they should have waited till the end of the year, but whatever, they didn't, and we're good. $1 million homes. Yes, we're still selling 4 to 4.5 a day. We have 544 $1 million plus homes on the market, and they continue to sell and they continue to get more listings. So that's a good thing. Again, we're churning, everybody. I love to use that word, churning. And interest rates are jumping up a little bit. And actually, it doesn't make a big, I'm in the process of finishing up the blog. I've been a little bit, some of my time that I try to get the blog out the first 2 weeks. I will definitely try to get it out today, but no promises. It will get out tomorrow, though, for sure. But anyway, the point is that the blog is about the buyers and should they buy, because what's going to happen as the interest rates go up. And I'm in the process of doing calculations and showing buyers what happens when, if they would have bought, when the interest rate was this versus now it's this. It's not a big jump right now. It's about $58 a month for that $400,000 home that their increase in payment is. So that's not a big jump, but as I'm going to kind of go through the motions in the blog and show people, how things are going to slowly increase over time, because it'll get to a point where it will affect their buying power. And I think that that's something that I want to do the blog about for you all. So to be able to maybe print that out or send it to your sphere of influence, it'll automatically go to anybody that's in your CRM in the back of your lab if you're an Agent Formula member. But if you're not an Agent Formula member, you can still go to agentformula.com and look at the blogs. So anyway, just letting you know that. Today, I want to talk a little bit about Andy from Sarasota. Now, Andy is $1 million person. Hold, please. What do you need, honey? Oh, anyway, John lost his glasses. It happens. Anyway, so Andy started out not being very good at talking to people, and that is a skill that you all really have to develop as time goes on. You have to develop talking to people because that's what we do for a living. If of course you know that, right? Okay. I think this is something I wanted to share with you. Email. Talked about the blog a little bit. Email. People are happy to receive emails from you. And I just want you to, I did this on Saturday, but I wanted to bring it up again because I think that sometimes we think that email is not effective. And probably because we as agents get so many emails from people trying to get us to buy leads, get us to buy websites, get us to take classes, right? Get us to do all these things, get us to join somebody's group, learn social media. I mean, it never ends. However, your consumers, your customers, your database, they're not getting all those like we are. So this was a survey, and I think NAR was part of this for Tom Ferry. And how often are you happy to receive emails? 14% of the people said daily. 22% said several times a week. 29% said once a week. 5% said once a fortnight. Now, what's a fortnight? That's every 2 weeks. That's an old word we don't use too much anymore, but that's every 2 weeks. And then 10%, 11% said once a month, and 7% said less frequency than once a month, and 10% said not at all. So if you look at the bottom, those people, you got almost 19% of the people don't want an email at all. And that happens, right? There's just people that don't do it. That doesn't even take that into consideration. Okay, so now today, what I want to do, and I loaded the video onto the Be Live platform. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray that it works. And I will do a check to make sure that it does. Now, I will tell you that when I do this, the voice and the lips are not going to be in sync. And I have tried doing it several different ways. And because this isn't on YouTube, I can't YouTube works. When I go and share the YouTube screen, the voices are in sync. When I snip it apart, like I did this was part of the summit. This was Andy's 8 or 9 minutes. It doesn't, it lags behind. So let's hope that we can work this out and hopefully it'll work. So let's see, I'll put myself down here. Let's see if we can't get this rolling. I'll do a test, of course. Now, Jason and Tom are going to segue into bringing Andy up on the screen. So the first part is about Jason responding to a question that somebody in the audience asked. So
that people, you can tell them to do all these things and they're not going to go do them.
But my top competitors will.
Okay, so they do.
So you ready? Watermark on every photo.
Okay.
Start calling yourself the original. Start referring to yourself as the first. So when they do it afterwards, they're the second.
Okay.
And you could say, I love that a lot of the top agents in my town are now doing this. Just, my stuff, it's the first. Mm-hmm. Like that's another way. But here's the thing, ready? So, by the way, this is Andy C, everybody. Say hello, Andy. Hi, Andy. We're actually going to switch the gears. So Andy he'll do $20 million in commissions this year. Now he's got a team, so he only gets 10. So we're going to pick his brain while we're doing this also. But here's what I would tell you. So I made the commitment to take all of my content and put it out for free on YouTube. And my original intention was, hey, you know what? All these great agents around the world are going to get it. And I'll be like in South Africa and someone's going to walk up and go, oh my God, Tom Ferry, I watch your stuff. And like, that was really my goal. Like I wanted to be as open everywhere around the world as I could, and YouTube was my platform for that. But what happened was all my competitors started doing the same thing, including my dad, who started Mike Ferry TV, and good job, Dad, if you're watching, right? Like, it was awesome. But what it really forced me to do was to be in an environment like this where I always had to innovate, right? So I'm always pushing the envelope and learning and jiving. I'm not resting on my laurels. I'm going to keep pushing, and you know what? That's okay. So just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, and be honored by the fact that your competition. I was looking at the one of our clients in San Jose sent me this, the top, I think it was 100 teams, right, in the Valley, and Andy's number one, and Andy pushes all the time.
Yeah, constantly 1% improvement on everything, every day.
Okay, let's go a totally different direction. How many homes will you list this year?
A little over 200.
Okay, so 200 listings, and your average sales price is like 225,000?
2.5 million.
Okay, so 2.5 million. So I was telling everybody, I think the morning you showed up, we were talking about geographic farming, open houses, how do you expand your brand? How do you become everywhere? Seth Godin yesterday said, be so good basically that they're typing in your name to Google.
Right.
We've been friends for 19 years.
Yeah.
Do you guys want a quick $20 million education on how to build your business? Okay, do you have some way of writing? Okay, or get this on video. This is really good. So Andy, if you were, show me on fingers how long you've been in the business. Show me on fingers. How long? So you got, I'm giving him context.
Okay.
So I got a 1 year, I got a 3 year, but I got a lot of 7, 5, 8, 10, 15, 20. Let's take a medium of you're 7 years in the business, you're selling 18 to 20 homes a year, you're at this summit, you want to completely blow it up. What would your first 3 to 5 moves be?
So obviously sign up for coaching if you haven't signed up for coaching. But in seriousness, you have to pick a farm. That's what I did. You got to pick a farm. You need to do the math on the farm, figure out the turnover rate, figure out the competition. Ideally, you want a farm that has less than 3% of competition rate. And then you go in and you want to market it like, you've already talked about it, twice a month.
Right.
But you got to start relatively big, about 1,000 homes. 2,000 probably is a good starting place. And depending on if your marketplace's average price point is like under 300,000, it's hard to mail that. I think it's really hard to mail that. So my good friend Glenda, she does a lot on video, and you're able to get a lot more done that way. But if your average price point, I think, is maybe 500, 800 or more, I think you can.
500 is the magic number where it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Lesser than that, you have to have really high turnover.
Right.
And you got to go knock on doors to really get the ROI.
So you're saying 7 years, and so when I think of a person that's 7 years in the business, you're pretty competent in the business. You know how to buy and sell house for clients. You should be decent at a listing appointment. But remember, if you go heavy in your farming and you're losing at the listing appointment, it's a waste of money. I'd rather you spend the money on your sphere, your farm, or I'd rather see you spend your money on like your, I guess it's just SOI at that point.
Yeah.
But if you can win at the listing appointment, then you can do that. But like I would want to go like before that, right?
Yeah, go back in
time. If you go back in time and you're newer and you're not good at this business, you need to be making cold calls or door knocking or open houses so that you can just get good at talking with people and talking about people about real estate, and then talking about people about real estate and get good enough to where you can actually close a contract. Because until you have that skill set, all the advertising in the world won't do you any good. Yep. So if you are good at that, then you can spend the money and do that. And then, start small.
Okay, but hold on. Let's go back farther in time, because yesterday Seth Godin talked about the practice. And I asked all of you to write down what would be the practice for you. And one of the things that, would it shock you to hear that for the last 90 days, I've been practicing every one of these presentations and doing it over. And, hey, Jason, you guys are in the office. Can I show you? Hey, Andy, let me role play this really fast. So here I am presenting to all these people around the world, and I'm practicing for 90 straight days, and most of you pull into a listing appointment like this. Oh, shit, I'm late. Oh, okay. Hi.
Yeah.
No preparation, no expectation, no professionalism. I'm not saying all of you, but you know what I'm saying. How do you prepare for appointments? What do you recommend they do? And then how do you improve your skills?
So the funny thing is you learn the most on the appointments you lose, right? And so I replay those in my head all the time. And what would I have done differently? How can I change my presentation? I mean, before we did any kind of cold calling, there would always be 30 minutes of role play with a friend from somewhere in the country, role play partners all the time. You know, I always did that. I always role play with my team right before open houses so that everybody's clear on the dialogues.
Yep.
There's 5 objections in everything we do, whether it's an open house, a listing position, and everything. We already know what they are. So you should already have your perfect responses for everything. So that's easy, right?
Andy, I've got a friend in the business, or I have another agent.
That's no problem. Do you want to buy a house in Saratoga?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're coming through me one way or another because I've got 30% market share. So if you want to work with
What the?
right?
And I think he's probably said that a few times. You have another agent? No problem. You're going to come through me either way. I've got 30% market
Yeah,
share.
so you're either coming through me as a buyer or you're coming through, you know, one way or another, you're coming through me. I mean,
Yes.
that's not a fair one for you guys.
Yeah, because
to
the average
use.
person can't say it.
So, you know, I mean, I think if somebody says that and you're brand new, look, honestly, I'm going to work harder than you than anybody else is going to work. You're going to be my only client. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to get the job done. And you got to be able to deliver it so that they believe it. And I know in your heart you're going to believe it when you deliver it, and that's what you got to be able to do. So,
But if you come across like this, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help.
right? Or
That
just
was
say,
a guy,
you know what?
by the way, in case you're wondering, ladies.
Say, or you're teamed up with a great team lead. Like, oh my gosh, Andy and I, he's the #1 agent. He's going to get you your house, and I'm going to make sure every detail gets done. You got to work with us because we'll do the best job.
Right.
So you have to have your canned response for all that stuff already.
Yeah.
So
You got to practice. You practice with your team. How
Yep.
did you practice in the old days?
in the old days, I had different role play partners from all over the country. And, you know, in the old days, so Tom was my very first coach before I even got into the business. I went to an event, and long story short, he became my coach. And our business plan was 3, 2, 1. 3 hours of prospecting every single day, set 2 appointments, go on 1 every single day. So what does that look like then? It was 3 hours of cold calling. But I would start at 8 o'clock in the morning. At 7:30, I would role play.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then I would just cold call straight through until I got at least 2 appointments or 200 contacts. But I can tell you what was really happening was the Mr. Miyagi stuff. Wax on, wax off, right? I was just getting really good at talking to people and then really good at learning how to deal with objections. Because objections over the phone to set an appointment are the same objections that you get in a listing appointment because the method of answering them is
So hi. So it's interesting because I'm going to get rid of him because like I said, it streams faster to Facebook than it streams on my computer. So let me turn that down. So I had to kind of wait there for a second. Hi, Karen. Good morning. Good morning. Karen, these are some great tips that Andy and I would really say for your agents to listen to it. But there has to be an understanding. So first of all, he said, get a farm. You have to have a farm and find a farm that has less than a 3% competition ring, meaning that look to see if somebody owns that neighborhood. Because if somebody owns that neighborhood, why are you going to waste your time? You know, when John decided to pick a farm, 10 years ago, the fellow who sold all these homes was still here. And so he really owned the business because he sold people the homes that they were living in. So when they wanted to sell the home, they went to him. And that has changed over time. Then we had somebody else that came up to the top. And then that person kind of went away for a while. And I think around 2010, he went away. And then a couple other people came back, but nobody really owned this neighborhood yet. You know, Tracy and John want to be the ones. And so they are following the things that Buffini tells them, the things that Tom Ferry tells them. For instance, when you go to get a farm, make sure that, in my opinion, that it's over $500,000, $500,000 to $800,000. Do that farm. I think most of the people are doing farms where the median price is, or like I remember Liz Mullins when she worked for us, she was the condo queen. Nobody's taken that niche. There's no condo queen anymore. The people that do high rises, kudos to you. Those people know, those agents know everything about that high rise community, and they are the experts. And people know that they own that building and that they can get the deal closed, and that they have buyers from previous listings that where a buyer didn't get it for whatever reason. And they keep those buyers are hopefully in a database so that they can reach out and say, hey, we just got a new listing in this building, and so on and so forth. So farms work the same way. You got to know everything about the neighborhood, but you have to have a farm. Then you have to get good at talking to people. And talking to people is a skill set. So you need to role play with your teammates, role play with your spouse, your significant other. You can even role play with children. They love that, believe me, depending on the age, maybe over 10. I don't know, some of the 8-year-olds are pretty smart right now, but you have to get prepared. You don't want to have a farm, get a call to do a listing, show up in the car, you're panicked, you don't have a presentation, you don't know what you're going to say, you haven't practiced. And we're going to show you tomorrow some of Seth Godin's talk that he did at this summit conference. And it's all about practicing. You have to practice, and practicing knowing what to say is a skill set, and you have to do that and learn the most. And what Andy said in his talk, he said, you learn the most from the ones you lose. And I'm here to tell you that's really true. If you really are on your game and you're organized and you walk in and try to take a listing, and for whatever reason, I think I tell you this story before. I went with John after years of never going on to a listing appointment. And I went to help him. And I totally missed the point that the woman was most interested in how to stage her home. I totally missed it. I was more concerned about what I was going to say than what I was going to hear. Yeah, even though you go into something and you're so prepared, but then they throw you a curveball. Well, you go on enough listing appointments, you'll be able to eventually learn from those that you lose, because we lost that one. We lost it because I went back and said, because I knew the people. Well, Ruthie never addressed my biggest problem, which was staging my house. Lord, yes. So you learn the most from the ones you lose. So that was the last time that happened. And the next thing, confidence. It's like Tom was saying, oh, I'm going to do everything to sell your house because I'm so good at what I do. And you stutter and you stammer and you have that angst in your voice. Hey, you heard Andy say, I can do anything to sell your house. I'm going to do all these things, and we will not miss a trick. Anything you need, we'll be here to help you. And the markets like this will probably sell this house within 30 days, and you will be on a journey that's smooth from the beginning to the end. Whatever your pitch is, I just made that up. They need to feel like you are the best. And I know when we first got into this market, it was interesting because we had used to sell in this market a lot. And then for a year or two, we kind of backed off. Other things were going on in our life that we had to attend to. And so we backed off a little bit. I think we were out of this market maybe 12 months, market meaning, where we live, our farm. And so when people said, how many homes have you sold? Well, none in the last year, but I had the number of how many we had sold over time, which was over 20, right? Which it was a lot. And we did know we were their neighbors and so on and so forth. So there's some things when objections come up that you need to know how to handle them. There's 5 objections, and you need to know the answers to those objections perfectly and not be stumped, not look like a deer, your eyes look like a deer in the headlights. So you need to really know the objections. If you sit at enough open houses, going back to the beginning of how you get to the point where Andy is. If you sit at enough open houses and you talk to enough people, they all have basically the same questions. And what Andy has determined is there's 5 questions that everybody's going to ask you, and you need to know those answers. And you need to know them perfectly. And so how did Andy start? He does 200 listings a year. His team makes $20 million a year in commissions, which is huge out of those 200 listings. But again, his price point is over 500 up to 800,000. And over time, he has become 30% of the market. Now he lives in a smaller town. But regardless, if you can do a certain percentage of homes in your farm, you own the farm. You own that farm. And that's what you want to do. So how did he begin? So for those of you who, are newer in the business, and I know, Karen, a lot of your agents are newer in the business. Number 1, he did 3 hours of prospecting every day. His goal was to set 2 appointments every day. And number 3, to go on 1 appointment a day. So that was his 3 hours of prospecting, set 2 appointments, go on 1 a day. So he would, my goal is at the end of the day to have my calendar, I'm on an appointment 5 days a week or 4 days a week, whatever your strategy is. I'm just going to show you this. Remember, win the day. Okay. So how are you going to win the day? That was his winning the day. And of course, then he had to do other things, but he was prepared. So when he had a listing presentation, just plug in the numbers so that he was ready to go. And it was his farm, so he knew the numbers inside and out. And that's how he got good. He got good at it, so good at it that he's making $20 million a year, 200 listings a year. That may not be you, but I'm here to tell you, if it's 4 sales a month, it's the same menu of things to do. The skill set is the same. You got to learn how to talk to people. And the more you do it, the more confidence you'll get, which you need confidence. And then you've got to do your prospecting, your circle prospecting. We saw in one of the Tom Ferry shows that I showed you, a listing goes on the market. You call 5 people to the left, 5 people to the right, 5 people across the street or on the next street. Whatever your design is okay. Say, hey, did you just see what happened to your neighbor? Did you just see what your neighbor did? Well, they just listed their home for $800,000, and you paid $400 for yours. And if they sell it at that means you just double the value of your home. Just wanted to give you that good news. And if you would like, when it goes under contract, I'll call you and let you know that. And then when it closes, I can tell you the price. So that they sold it at. So anyway, and then you can also do the 5, 5, and 5 with, a listing just went up. And you do this before it even goes in the MLS, because they don't know it, right? Unless they know the neighbor, of course, but assuming they don't, you say, just a courtesy call. There's a listing coming across the street from you or beside you or in another street. So there's going to be more people coming into the subdivision. So just want you to be aware of why there's more traffic. And I'll just keep you updated if you'd like as to, when this listing goes on the market, when it sells, and when it closes at. Just to let you know. Well, then guess what happens? If you're farming that over time, guess what? It's going to be your listing. But those things happen over time. We can't get too anxious. We can't expect too much. I know that's not our nature, right? Our nature is instamatic. We want everything now. Amazon, 2 hours, right? No, not 2 hours. You're not going to make 20 million in 2 hours. It takes time. And that's why a lot of agents get out of this business, because they get impatient. You have to have patience and practice, patience and practice, patience and practice. And practice makes you better. I don't know if it makes you perfect, but it makes you better. And that's what it's all about. I love you all. I'm trying to keep my shows on time here, half hour max. Keep waiting for the surprise Jimmy to show up. He's a very busy man. He's going to be teaching us next week all about law from 2 to 5. It's a great, great class. It's a new class. I told you, keep telling you, it's not boring. Sign up. We got a lot of signups already, but it's Zoom, so we can take as many as we can get. And then we have another class. Let me just put my calendar up here. Got to keep you all in the loop here. Then on the 20th, we have contracts. Great class. Writing and presenting the RPA. It's a fantastic class. And I keep telling you, yes, yeah, I know. Karen says, absolutely, agents don't have patience. I know. We want everything today. I understand that. You understand it now too. Okay, so contracts is a great class, and that class is from, let's see, 10 to 1, free lunch. And then the following Monday is agency. And then the following Wednesday is law again. So we've got lots of classes for you. I know you have to take more hours this year. Jimmy and I are creating some newer classes too, like we created the new law class. I think this is our 4th new class that we've created. So to keep things relevant, to keep things in the moment, to keep you all educated so that you can go out there and build your business. That's what it's all about. I love you all. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to hear what Seth Godin has to say about practice. He's awesome. Thank you. Like, share,